I am Kelsey. I am a landscape architect at a firm down in Hollywood, Florida.
I'm Jessica. I am a project engineer at Commodore Builders in our core rotational program.
So our project was about building a mentorship program. Just from what we've heard so far with the presentations, obviously mentorship is it's a big topic for all of us, in the program. So I will go ahead and get into it. So mentors. When you think of a mentor, what type do you think? You can feel free to shout out if you want, or I can just ad lib. So there are a variety of mentors. Maybe you have a mentor in your personal life, maybe a professional mentor. You can have a mentor for a type of hobby. There are also mentors who advocate for people, who challenge them, who just are there for like a certain time of your life. With all of these emphasis on mentors, we chose, specifically mentors in your professional life, or, mentors within like your company specifically. So why mentors? Why is there such an emphasis on mentors? Well, 97% of employees believe that mentors are important, and 55% believe that they can help you succeed. On the other end, 67% of organizations say that employees are more productive when they have a mentor. So both from an employee and a company, mentors are important.
So, with this in mind, we decided to investigate different mentorship programs within the construction industry. It came up across our entire program and talking to other contacts within the industry that most construction companies have some sort of mentorship program. What they look like is varied, but there is some program. So we wanted to see what components of different mentorship programs make a successful mentorship program. So what components are the most important? The way that we went about this was through a survey. We surveyed all of the participants in our class, as well as contacts, own personal contacts. So all of the my fellow cores at Commodore were surveyed, and Kelsey also asked her mentor and some other people that she knew. We tried to get interviews from our survey participants, but were mostly declined. So most of what our data is just survey responses. We asked them 8 questions about their experience, and Kelsey can tell you more about that.
Yes, so we asked them the survey questions. They're written here. A lot of them are about, on a scale from 1 to 10, or name to 2 or 3 aspects of the program you think are successful or not successful. How often were you meeting with your mentee? How did your mentee and you get paired up? And so we collected all of this data and put it into a spreadsheet to help us analyze it a little bit better. So we got the details about the program background, how satisfied they are, the role selection, meetings, and then their overall feelings. So those are our main categories for the data and the questions that we asked. So this is just some background on our study participants. We received 8 responses, 7 were survey, and then 1 interview. 7 were in company sponsored programs, and 1 was in an institutional sponsored program. So this is an alumni who mentors students from where he used to go to school. And we had 2 mentors and 6 mentees. And then the length of the program varied from 7 months to 1 year, although we did have one that it seemed like they were just continuous. It was an ongoing mentorship.
So again, we were investigating what makes a mentorship program successful, but first we had to define what a successful program looked like. We asked all of our survey respondents, and all of them agreed that a successful mentorship program ends with the mentee having gained something. That something can vary from insights about their current position, how to handle a tough situation based on what the mentor has experienced in their life, or it can look like getting a new job through a networking connection that you made, getting a friend to lean on, or just learning something new. So, but the overall goal was that the mentee leaves having gained something. If a program left participants unsatisfied, it was often because of the format and not because of what they got out of it.
So some of our data that we assessed, out of the participants surveyed, there was a 3.5 average satisfaction. So we only had fairly positive, so between 3, 4, and 5s. Interesting, the mentors reported a higher rate of satisfaction with the program, and most people cited that what would make the program better would be more frequent meetings with their mentors.
The other thing that came up that was interesting about our survey results was how mentors and mentees were paired. Most of our respondents reported that they were assigned a mentor. Some people said that that was a good thing because it helped them make connections within their own company. And it's more helpful for people who are new to the industry, don't know as much about the industry itself or the company. But more people reported that it was not the best way to go about pairing people because it seemed kind of random. Sometimes the mentor's experience and the mentee's career goals didn't align, or most commonly, the mentor and the mentee did not really overlap in their professional lives that much. So the mentor, they didn't know very much about each other at all. The mentor couldn't really relate as directly to what the mentee was going through, or it was just harder to talk very specifically about, this is a problem that I'm facing on this job. How do I handle it? And the mentor might not be able to have the most specific advice that the mentee is looking for. The participants who were allowed to either pick their mentor, or there were a couple participants who participated in a program where it was a very intensive pairing process. So the mentors filled out some sort of survey that defined their career experience, their goals, and just their personality. And the mentees did the same so that the pairings could be a little bit more intentional and hopefully more successful.
So the meetings between mentors and mentees, 63% had scheduled meetings versus just meeting as needed. And this seemed good. It was like the majority of people, they scheduled their meetings, but we got a lot of responses that it was difficult to schedule and it was not a priority. So if they had to schedule it because the mentor was so busy that they didn't have time. So they didn't feel like they were a priority. So they would have to plan these things, months out. And, it was pretty inconsistent. And that was something that we saw repeatedly, that more consistent meetings led to a higher rate of satisfaction. The only 25% of people who had meetings with their mentors had agendas. So most people just came in and talked about whatever was on their mind. Interestingly, a lot of the conversations were mentee led. So the mentee would come in and they would offer a topic for discussion for that session. And they actually ranged. They were specific on career goals or, job specific things that they were going through. But it also included personal topics or hobbies, life things. So it wasn't just about work exclusively. And one of our respondents wished or expressed that it might have been better if the mentor had actually provided some topics or had brought something to the table so that it didn't feel like the mentee always had to lead the conversation, that the mentor was actually contributing to the relationship or to the program. And our takeaway from this is many reported a structure or guideline would be helpful to establish meeting schedules as well as agenda topics. It doesn't have to be directly defined or followed, but just having something to start from would be beneficial.
So to wrap this all up, we created some recommendations based on our survey responses. Number one, mentors and mentees should be intentionally paired, whether that's creating some sort of pairing survey to match people together, or just allowing mentees to pick their mentors. Both indicate that there is more success if those relationships are formed that way. Secondly, meetings should be a priority for both mentors and mentees. They should be scheduled and they should meet at least once a month. Agendas are helpful. They should provide a roadmap. So that way both parties have an idea of what to expect for the conversation, but it doesn't mean that they have to really stick to it. If they find some other conversation that's more interesting or they go off on a tangent, that's totally fine. The agenda is more just there to create a little bit of structure so people know what to anticipate. And lastly, and most importantly, meetings should be a safe space. Meetings should allow for both participants to speak what's on their mind without any fear of repercussions, personally or professionally.
So our final thoughts on what makes a successful mentorship program: it should be structured, meetings should be consistent, and they should be equally important to both parties. And the outcome should be that the mentee leaves the program feeling as though they gained something, be that knowledge or an ally in the field. And that is our presentation.
I don't really have a question, but I really liked the recommendations page. And I definitely think the mentor could have some kind of like pairing survey or something. I agree with that.
I thought it was
Kelsey?
Sorry, I thought it was interesting how in another presentation, people recommended the mentor be 3 to 8 years experience, like older or have 3 to 8 years more experience than the mentee. And a lot of our feedback was that they wanted people who are really, really, really knowledgeable. So I don't know if that means that, or you could infer that that would be an older mentor, but definitely having a knowledge base and the experience to go through all these, anything that the mentee can go through that they have been through before, I think was really important. So I thought that was an interesting overlap between our topics.
Yeah. But 3 to 8 years, especially closer to that 8-year mark, is pretty monumentally different in terms of experience, I think. I mean, up until maybe 15 years and of time in the field, just because you see a lot, even 3 years, when you think about where you were 3 years out of school versus where you were when you entered, it was pretty different, right?
Yeah.
And you have a whole different set of skills. So I think that it's just a really interesting way to think about it, instead of always thinking older.
Yeah,